My vocation story actually started when I was in high school. And it started with a period of turbulence that ended with me discovering a very real experience of God. So the God experience, largely through Jesus, was so healing, opening. At the same time, friars occasionally came to our high school. One of them was a young guy, 30 years old, named Richard Rohr. And Richard, at that point, had been preaching and actually working in a high school, so it was not unlike him to come through. And his preaching left me wondering, could this be real? Could what he's talking about be real? Also, around this time, I read a book by Murray Bodo, who wrote The Journey and the Dream. And Murray's book was very life-changing as well, because again, it sort of gave voice to many of my own ideals that Francis also shared. But was it real? Did this community of brothers actually exist? So I began to hang out occasionally with John and Richard, and more importantly, decided I would, right after high school, live with the Friars while I went to college. So in doing that, I discovered that there was a reality to this, that the community could actually happen. People could care for each other and encourage each other in their spiritual journey. I had a great experience in the novitiate, but a hard experience initially with ministry. Right after I was simply professed, I was sent immediately to go ahead and follow where my heart was leading, which was to live with the homeless for about 2 years. So the Friars, we took homeless people into our house. We all slept in one single room. We all slept right on the floor. We did have little mats there. We lived very simply with the homeless folks that we were with. We all had jobs. I worked as a breakfast cook during that time. And at the end of the month, when we paid bills like light bills and water bills and things like that, whatever we had extra, we gave away so that we could continue to rely on God for our help. In that experience, the mixture of having time to pray, along with actually living side by side with initially many schizophrenics in particular, later a group of Vietnamese boat people had need of us, so they were a great stabilizing force. All of that led me to say, not only do we live this thing, not only is it possible, but it's also possible to live out my dream in this, which was at the time to live and work with homeless folks. I think with me, you would find somebody who's being as honest as I'm possibly aware, but also a caring person, somebody that wants to know about you as, like, what are your dreams and hopes, as well as probably, making sure you're aware of our joint dreams and hopes. A fun fact about me is that I make greeting cards. So for a way for me to relax a lot of times is to pull away and work on whatever card it is that I'm working on to create. I use all kind of media in that, mostly watercolors, stamping, that kind of thing. The main challenge is to connect our real life with our experience of God. There's a way in which we can all develop a little amnesia about God. Even if you're wearing a habit, it's easy to not always have that connection where you feel God's got my back. I'm in a good place. So I think that's part of the challenge. The other part is our larger tradition. So we've got a great history. When we go back to Francis and the early community and listen to how they were very trial and error for many times in their different ministries that they did, in their way of being in Italy initially, but quickly spreading around. I think we too will start to realize what's happening in our situation now. What is crying out to us from the world that perhaps we have some gift to offer it. Our primary gift, of course, is always the good news that God is crazy about us. I think so many people think God, is somehow remote and not apart. But in fact, we're so swimming in God, we can't even begin to be aware of it. And if we were, maybe we'd explode. But that to help people experience that and to notice it in their lives, I think that may be a big contribution that we would bring. I think when you meet one friar, you've met one friar. I think that's important to know. We're very, very different, but what does keep us together is this experience of God and brotherhood, a desire to be connected with people that are not included in our society. This life is such an adventure. It's such an adventure when, in fact, you can connect your own life with the experience of God and the experience of brothers. I never know where it's going to take me. It's taken me to become the vicar provincial now. I have no idea where this is going to land, except the adventure keeps opening me up. I hope it's opening you up as well to a greater life and a more expansive experience and joy. Our life has a lot of structures, but the important part is so that it helps us catch fire, help us be men of joy, men of the gospel.